Today is Monday, November the 4th, 2025. The time is 6:02 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Ackrey?
Here.
Commissioner Downing?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Tebby?
Here.
Mayor Washington?
Here.
We have our quorum and are duly qualified to conduct business.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Our first item on the agenda is a statement by our police chief regarding the Roebling Bridge incident. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. The Covington Police Department has concluded an internal investigation into the response to the incident that occurred on the Roebling Suspension Bridge on July 17, 2025. This investigation was comprehensive and exhaustive. It included a review of hundreds of hours of body-worn camera and civilian footage, interviews with multiple civilian and employee witnesses, along with other available evidence and reports. Our goal was to ensure a full and fair assessment of our actions that day. Our review found that officers were faced with a dynamic, evolving situation filled with unknowns, dangerous surroundings, and individuals refusing to obey lawful orders. It was determined that the department's response to the incident scene was consistent with established procedure, with the exception of findings related to specialist staging. As a result, he will serve a 30-day unpaid suspension. Furthermore, he will be required to complete remedial training before he returns to duty. These incidents provide the department with a proactive opportunity to determine whether additional training is appropriate agency-wide. And to that end, officers across the department will begin receiving additional training focused on de-escalation and responding to unlawful public demonstrations involving large crowds. We remain firmly committed to transparency, accountability, and professionalism. Our department's training should and will reflect such. We hold our officers to the highest standards. Individuals who ignore lawful orders and create dangerous conditions during demonstrations will also continue to be held accountable. Public safety depends on mutual respect and responsibility for both officers and the public. Our mission remains the same, to provide the best possible police service to the people of Covington, built on respect, fairness, and trust. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next order of business, presentations. Any kind of presentations? None. Seeing no presentation, we'll now move to the city manager's report.
No report tonight.
No report by the city manager. Next item up, administration, external affairs, Sebastian Torres.
Good evening, Commission. We are requesting the ability to have a presentation at your next meeting by Chris Brown in relation to the community liaison role that we recently created, which seeks to engage the public and our neighborhood associations in relation to issues that are going on and making sure that they're getting connected with the right departments.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Downing.
With the other presentation we're going to have for the public art, following that, would it be a good idea to break those up onto different days?
I believe, is the public art going to, are you going to try to present tonight? Yeah,
Okay.
he's presenting tonight
My
on that.
apologies. Thank
So any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk, please list that under item number 1 for next week's, or for next agenda for presentations. Thank you, Mr. Torres.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Economic Development, Director Tom West.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. What we have for you tonight is an order requesting an order accepting the recommendation of the CCR Public Art Committee for the installation of public art at the Covington Central Riverfront. I am not an art expert. That's why we got a committee of art experts and community leaders together to hold this competition, if you will, and then put a recommendation together. So rather than me try to present that recommendation, we've asked for them to be here tonight to present that along with the legislation. So I want to introduce Matt Distel from the Carnegie and Shannon Ratterman from the Center for Great Neighborhoods.
Hello, thank you. As you know, the CCR site itself is a creative approach to a civic space, and it makes sense that artists and art of its time have a role in that as well. Public art is an immediate and effective way to signal the city's commitment to making CCR a vibrant, welcoming, and active destination for Covington residents and visitors alike. The partnership that selected this piece grew from organic conversations about CCR and the proposed location of the sculpture on the site plan. The Carnegie was introduced to the project as a leading contemporary visual and performing arts organization in Northern Kentucky. Center for Great Neighborhoods is ensuring that the community voices played a role in the process. We also brought in experts in installing contemporary or public art in public sites. Of course, we did this all in constant consultation with Tom West and Elizabeth Wetzel from the city.
Yep. So I'm going to talk quickly, just sort of high level, how we got here, how the process went. These images, I'm sure you're familiar, are from the CCR site. We have the overall site plan and a rendering of the location where it would go. So the starred location is that was built into the designs as a proposed location for public art at CCR, and that's what we were brought in to identify what that piece might be. And just a couple more pictures. If you've been there recently, these photos are about 2 months old, so sort of looking at that exact location, looking north and then looking south. A lot of thought was given into this piece of like being in that exact spot and making sure that it fit and it made sense to go there. So the first step in the process was we put together a request. Well, first step in the process was we secured funding. So thank you very much to the gracious funding of the Carolyn and Ralph B. Hale Foundation, represented here tonight by Cal Cullen. They provided all of the funding that provided for the cost of this process, as well as the installation of this piece that will go at CCR. We created a request for proposals so that we could advertise to artists about what we were looking for, and artists could respond to one of 3 prompts. And of course, City Hall and the project partners were really instrumental in developing these 3 prompts. So one was the use of artifacts saved by the city from the IRS complex. The second one would be to incorporate the history of the site before the IRS or the larger history of Covington itself. And then the third option was to highlight Covington's identity and make the city's 40,000 plus residents feel acknowledged in the future of this area. We arrived at those because we felt like they all were really aligned with the city's goals around the CCR site in general. So once we sort of released that RFP and we had artists putting together their ideas for that proposal, we assembled a committee of representatives that would help us get at that decision. Like Matt and Tom mentioned, we were really careful about putting together this group that has long-standing history of being art experts, being community experts. Most of them are residents of our community, people who really understand sort of what we were trying to do in all of the different criteria that we were trying to meet. So those folks, in addition to some other things that they would take into account, they were scoring all of the submissions. So through that RFP process, we received a total of 25 submissions, and those were from artists all around the country. There was a super strong showing of local artists, and most of those ended up being in the final group. But the committee was tasked with scoring all 25 of those on all of these criteria, making sure to take into account both the artist's work, their previous history, their body of work, what inspires them, as well as sort of the durability. Could this really be fabricated? Was the budget that they submitted actually able to get something built? Sort of all of these like qualitative and quantitative criteria. So after that, the committee scored those 25, and they came up with the final 8 finalists that would make it to the next round. And then we went into public input. So those artists were given another 8 weeks to refine their proposals and submit something back to us. We took all of those submissions and we made them available to the public, both through press releases, social media, on websites. And then the pieces that they submitted back to us were also available at the Center for Great Neighborhoods for a few days so people could come and view those options. We also had little comment books where people could sort of write which ones they found inspirational, any feedback they might have to the artists, just as a way to gather additional input. And then on September 30th, we had a presentation and a Q&A session at the Carnegie where each artist was given 5 minutes to sort of pitch their idea and answer any questions that the public might have. And we had about 60 or 65 attendees at that public meeting to participate in the process. So both sort of from start to finish, we've had city staff input as well. Like Matt mentioned, we've been in constant contact with Tom West and Economic Development Department about this process. Elizabeth Wetzel has been instrumental in connecting us with the construction team and the owner's representatives to make sure that these things were feasible. More recently, we've had conversations with the Department of Public Works and the Police Department, making sure that this thing that they're going to own and maintain for hopefully a really long time is something that they can maintain and doesn't pose any significant safety concerns or maintenance concerns to any city departments. And they confirmed no significant concerns, no more than anything else that exists in the city. So Matt's going to talk about the selections.
So we did end up with a winner, quote unquote, a winner. But a really interesting connection emerged between the two top selections. And that is this connection was found in this this thing about connecting places and time. So what emerged between these two pieces was wayfinding. And the story that we think is a really powerful story is that it's Covington's mission to create a new place which respects the past but with its own identity is really captured by these two pieces. Connection can also be found between the innovative approach that the city has taken with the development at CCR and the ways that these two individual artist groups are connecting people to place and present to past. So this is the winner. It was called Cairn by Matcom Lab. Matcom Lab is a design and research lab based in DAP at UC, led by Tyler Swingle, who's an assistant professor in the architecture department. The design lead is Miles Sledo, who's a Northern Kentucky born and raised resident. His grandfather actually lived in a home a block away from the site before the IRS building was built. Sorry. Cairn itself, the actual piece, consists of 19 pillars. It is cast concrete. The 19 pillars representing the 19 neighborhoods of Covington. It is in 5 cast units, each embodying a different historical era and cultural identity. The aggregate is collected from the tight radius around the site, so it reflects that history as well. It's difficult to demonstrate here, but the colors will vary. And the texture will vary because of the way that the aggregate will be collected, and it will weather over time, and so it will change color. The piece is approximately 14 and a half feet tall. You can see there sort of some scale references. And then the second piece, which I think Shannon, we can talk about that a little bit as well. There's a second piece that we are also seeking funding for. So this is the first piece is the clear winner. That's the ask. There's a second piece that we thought was a very close second, and we are going to additionally try to find some funding for. The reason for the selection we thought that the site location for the second piece was less than ideal. And there are some locations that will be opening up at the CCR site that we think would be ideal for this piece. This piece is called You Are Here. It is by artists Patty Byron and Janet Creekmore, also Covington residents. And so this is another piece that is more of a contemporary wayfinding device, the Cairn being an ancient wayfinding device. So where are we with the next steps here? So Karen, we have our funding in hand, and we would like to be, with approval, we'd like to move on to fabrication and with the installation goals. And then with You Are Here, we are still seeking funding and firming up the budget and fabrication estimates. Anything else to add there?
No, I think that's it. So the focus here tonight is Cairn, but obviously we wanted to present them both because of the connection that they have, both being wayfinding and placemaking tools, and sort of that dichotomy between old and new and historic and contemporary. We feel like they fit nicely together. But the focus is Cairn. The land bridge was mentioned even by Elizabeth as a potential location for future public art. We realize construction for that is 2 years away, so we're hoping to have both of these, but tonight we're talking about Cairn, and then us as a team, we're prepared to go back and sort of seek additional funding to get that second piece funded as a companion piece.
So we're just asking for the order to accept the recommendation on the Karen sculpture.
You're asking for an order, or you're asking for the motion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ackery. Do I have a second?
I'm sorry, Commissioner Down.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
I'll
I know it was a Tim.
It would be to put it on the agenda for the vote.
Okay, that's what was throwing to me. So without objection, consent. Thank you all. Thanks to everyone on the committee for taking a look at all the artwork. And I say this wholeheartedly, there's no losers in this. So we appreciate all the artists' work. Thank you. Moving on to the next item. Mr.
Very quickly, we're just requesting the opportunity at the legislative meeting to present the analysis of our small business program. I want to thank Commissioner Downing for requesting this, because a lot of times when you do an analysis, you reflect, and sometimes you don't like the reflection. I think you all are going to really like the reflection of this analysis. So we would ask for 10 minutes or so to present that analysis at the legislative meeting.
Without objection, we'll have a presentation. Can you put that on the agenda for next week, please? Thank you, Director West. Mr. Sadowski, item number 4, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Before you is an order authorizing the Mayor to execute a TIF redevelopment loan agreement with 608 Madison LLC, providing financial incentives for the property located at 608 Madison Avenue. First, I'd like to recognize members of the development team that are in attendance today, Tyler Watkins and Joe Stevie. The development team recently completed the renovation of the Republic Bank building and Hotel North, which is a few years before them. This project is a full gut renovation of the former Eilerman department store building. Items include replacing storefront windows with a brand new curtain wall, relocating the entrance to the building from the side to that prominent corner right there, repainting trim in the turret, adding windows on the south facade, and then burying utilities and replacing sections of sidewalk. So the total project cost is $4.25 million. The development team submitted a TIF application. Our staff underwrote the project. Seeing a financial gap, we agreed to a $250,000 incentive package, which consists of a $100,000 forgivable loan, primarily for the facade, and work in the public right-of-way, as well as a $150,000 project loan. That will be repaid over a 7-year term. Staff likes the project because it's going to bring new office online as well as new ground-level commercial space. And it's at a very highly visible intersection of Pike and Madison. And with that, you can now field any questions the commission may have.
Any questions for the Assistant Director? Seeing no questions, without objection, consent. Next item.
Okay. Next item before you is an order authorizing the mayor to execute an entrepreneurship support grant agreement with Blue North Incorporated. And I want to recognize Dave Knox, who's in attendance today. He's the executive director of Blue North. whose mission is to grow the regional entrepreneurial ecosystem by reducing barriers for startups, supporting small business development through educational program, and connecting small businesses to funding resources. They are the operator of Spark House. And first off, this grant agreement aligns with the city's recently accepted economic development strategy of creating a nationally recognized entrepreneurial ecosystem. This agreement is also in line with our department's broader mission to support existing businesses and helping to facilitate business attraction. On the small business part of that, we're excited to share our presentation next week about all the things that we do to help our local small businesses. As you know, our staff and resources are small. That's why we partner with other organizations who specialize in business development, workforce development, and community development. For example, over the years, we've partnered with the Esperanza Latino Center, the Kentucky Small Business Development Center, the Ensweiler Building Institute, Aviator Accelerators, the African American Chamber of Commerce, and the Northern Kentucky Area Development District through the Covington Works program. We've made financial contributions to these organizations to the tune of almost $300,000 over the past few years through either direct grant or subsidized rents or in-kind services. This grant agreement is funded through our Economic Development Fund, so it's not any general fund dollars. And we feel that Spark House and the community and program that they offer is in line with our mission. That's why we are recommending a $30,000 grant. And in consideration of this grant, Spark House will work to attract new companies to Covington, educate our local high school students on the entrepreneurial career pathway, work with the city to develop an onboarding process for companies to comply with our local occupational license regulations, and the city will have the opportunity to use our conference rooms for business recruitment and other city events. The term of this agreement is 1 year, and an annual report will be due at the end of the term so that we can evaluate whether the goals are met and assess ROI at that time. I'll now field any questions the commission may have.
Any questions for the Assistant Director? Seeing none, without objection, consent. Thank you, Mr. Sadowski.
Thank you.
Fire Department's up next. Chief Dye.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I bring to you an order to request the approval to purchase 122 sets of globe turnout gear from Vogelpool Fire Equipment for a total cost of $410,000. This purchase will replace turnout gear that expired in May of this year. Vogelpool was selected by the committee post a bid process, and they also submitted the lowest responsible bid.
Any questions for the Chief? Seeing no questions, without objection, consent. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Public Works, Mr. Bales.
Evening. Tonight, Public Works is requesting approval of a memorandum of agreement with the State Division of Emergency Management. If you recall, we sustained significant damage and expenditures back in the spring from the flooding. Brad Schwenke and Corey Lostro have been working closely with the state in order to submit all the documents that are needed to ultimately be reimbursed with FEMA funds. So this is the next step in moving forward.
Any questions for Mr. Bales? Without objection, consent. Thank you, Director. Neighborhood Services, Mr. Holmes.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have an item for consideration this evening, requesting an order for the mayor to execute a contract with KZF designed for the planning services and design service for the Global Park Master Plan. We had 7 respondents to the RFP that we put out. KZF was the most qualified, came in on budget, and the city has recent experience working with them on other projects. So.
Any questions for Mr. Holmes? Without objection, consent. Next item.
Thank you.
Mr. Wallace, Neighborhood Services.
Good evening. 2 items for your consideration tonight that are related to our Phase 1 of our Pleasant Street affordable housing project. Item 1 is authorizing the mayor to execute a contract with Neighborhood Investment Partners. This will be a home development agreement for them to construct 2 new homes at 304 and 308 Pleasant Street. So NIP will act as the home subrecipient, They'll manage the construction with our supervision, and they're going to construct 2 new modular 3-bedroom, 3-bath homes on the vacant land that we currently own.
Any questions for Mr. Wallace?
Okay?
Without objection, consent.
So step 2 in the second order is then transferring the 2 properties to NIP. So the second item is an order authorizing the mayor to execute a disposition and development agreement with Neighborhood Investment Partners. It's 3 lots that we own, 304, 306, and 308 Pleasant will all be transferred to NIP, and then they will convert it into 2 lots that will become 304 and 308 that will house the 2 new homes that they will build.
Any questions? Seeing none, without objection, consent.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Chief Weeholter.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have 3 items for your consideration. The first is the renewal of the annual retiree hire contract for Officer Wes Cook. He would continue as a grade 6 patrol officer, and with that renewal, our department will be staffed at 108 of 114 officers.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
The second is a request for the renewal of the annual retiree hire contract for Officer David Finan Jr. He would also continue as a patrol officer grade 6, and again, we would be staffed at 108 of 114.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
And lastly, request to renew the annual retiree hire contract with Officer Robert Rose. He would also continue as a patrol officer grade 6 and same staffing.
Any questions? Seeing none, consent.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. As you see, we have multiple second reading of ordinances that will come up for a vote next meeting. Commissioner, discussion items. I have a couple of things I'd like to add to the agenda without objection. I'd like to add to the agenda to have several board appointments without objection. That could be added for agenda for next week. And I have a second item I'd like to add to the agenda. Commissioners, I'd like to ask for your unanimous consent to add an item to tonight's caucus agenda, specifically a discussion of the Horizon Fund donation and a proposed order authorizing the expenditure of funds to support food assistance for Covington residents affected by the federal government shutdown. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, the item will be added to the agenda. Number 2, I'd like to suspend the rules and take legislative action, which we'll have a discussion on. Because of the urgent nature of this issue and the immediate need for food assistance among Covington residents affected by the suspension of SNAP benefits, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and take legislative action on this matter tonight.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by the Vice Mayor.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ackery. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passed. So, Commissioners, early this afternoon, I toured Be Concerned, also known as the People's Pantry, with the Executive Director, Andy Brunsman. And what I saw was both inspiring and actually sobering. Be Concerned is now helping over 2,000 families each month, which is more than double the number they served during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when they assisted about 1,000 families a month. In October alone, they served 2,500 families. This growing need underscores the pressure that rising costs, reduced federal benefits, and the current government shutdown are putting on our Covington families in our Covington community. Be Concerned operates with about a $3 million annual budget and has proven to be a reliable, transparent, and deeply community-rooted partner in addressing hunger. So what I'm asking is for the city of Covington, for us to direct $10,000 to the Horizon Community Fund of Northern Kentucky. The Horizon Community Fund will be instructed to allocate those dollars to the Northern Kentucky Food Support Fund, specifically to assist Covington residents who are struggling with access to food and essential supplies. This is an opportunity for the city to stand with our residents during a difficult time and to support a trusted network that's already doing extraordinary work on the front lines of food insecurity. Discussion. Commissioner Smith.
Just a quick comment. I've had the privilege of working with Executive Director Andy Brunsman for about 5 years at Be Concerned, and he does do some incredible work. I would encourage anyone, if you're an individual or you own a business, get your team out there. They allocate food, organize, and beyond food, which they do need, and I'm so grateful that Mayor Washington introduced this. When I talked to Andy recently, one of the other things that they are going to need with the holidays approaching are toys for kids. So just keep that in mind. Definitely food is a need, and some of the kiddos might be brightened up by some toys. So just be on the lookout for a lot of opportunities, and thank you again for introducing this. That's it.
Commissioner Ackery.
To echo Vice Mayor, I too have been involved with them for quite a few years through the Covington Street Hockey League, where we donate thousands of dollars of toys as well as food. I would also recommend that everybody that's fortunate enough to have a full refrigerator help Be Concerned for these people at this time. So I'm in full support of this, Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? So seeing none, at this time I'll entertain a motion to approve an order authorizing the expenditure and donation of city funds to support food assistance for Covington residents affected by the federal government shutdown, and to approve agreements with local nonprofits providers to administer those funds in furtherance of this public welfare program. May I have a motion?
A motion.
Motion by Commissioner Ackery.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Downing. Only further discussion I have is Covington is not alone. You know, oftentimes we find a lot of social service agencies here in the urban core. But let this be known, when I was in that pantry today, there's no doubt that there's not only Covington residents there, but there's residents from all over suburbia. So I challenge my mayors within this county and within Northern Kentucky to come forth with funds on this. This is a nonpartisan issue of being hungry. It ain't no fun. Let's go help people. So that's how I look at that. So with the motion and with the second and no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any other comments by the board? Seeing none, we are adjourned.